Let me ask you something. Think about one of your strongest memories, say from childhood, maybe something that worked out, maybe a painful moment, maybe even a moment that shaped your life. Now here's the strange question. What if I told you that that memory that you're holding on to so tightly is not exactly what happened? What if I told you that? Because the brain rewrites memories every time that we recall them, every time that we remember them. Hi guys, Warren here. But yeah, so I want to call this part 2 of 2. I think I'll leave it alone after this one, unless something just really hits me. But I did an episode, the one before this one, the last episode, about memories and why we dwell on the bad ones and not the good ones. And I said that there was something problematic in that. And then I was looking at some of the research I looked at for that episode, and I spotted this little nugget that I think is important, that I did not know, and I don't know if you know. I'd like to hear your comments down in the comments if you knew that prior to this episode. But I didn't know that every time that we recall them, they're what neuroscientists called reconstructed. Really, it's not like a video recorder. Yeah, it's definitely not recording. We think something happened, it gets recorded, stored, and gets replayed later. And that happens, yes. But neuroscience says it's more like reconstruction. Every time we recall the event, we unconsciously edit it because we use things like emotions get involved, context, beliefs get involved. And so every time that those are in play, it changes. Later experiences get involved. And so we rebuild a memory using those. And it's not fair to ourselves, and it's not fair to others. And when we do that, it changes ever so slightly, but it does change. And I'm smiling, and I don't necessarily mean to, because that's where I think the problematic piece lies, right? Is what psychologists call memory reconstruction or memory reconsolidation. So it's problematic. Each time we remember something, we're editing the memory. And because we dwell on the negative ones, that can be problematic. The strongest an emotion is to a memory, the more likely it is to change, the more likely we are to change it. The brain prioritizes for our circumstances, right back to emotions being in play, context and beliefs. The brain prioritizes meaning over accuracy, and so over time, embarrassment may grow. It's kind of like a fishing story, right? Embarrassment may grow, conflict may become harsher. What's another one? The regret may feel more dramatic, and the thing is that, like I was alluding to, the actual story was at best ordinary, but because of the replay and the editing that we do with the brain pulling bits and pieces from different places, that can make it problematic. It shapes the memory to how accurately we feel about ourselves in relation to that memory. says more about who we are today than when that incident occurred. And so we reshape it because of that. Marcus Aurelius said the soul becomes dyed with the contents of the colors of its thoughts, and the more we revisit certain interpretation of events, the more they shape our identity, the more they shape our expectations, and not expectations of necessarily us, but expectations of others. Again, something that can be problematic. But the Stoics believe something even more powerful, though. We're not trapped by our interpretations. We can examine them, but we're not trapped. Often, the pain of a memory, I think, comes less from the event and more from the story we have built around it. I think Epictetus said something to that effect. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah. But the absurd twist, the strange irony, the memories we often treat as absolute truths are the ones that we have rewritten the most. Ooh. But yeah, especially regrets, conflicts, embarrassing moments, failures, all of those. And if that's not true, then maybe the past we carry around, if it's not true, then the past we carry around in our heads is not a fixed story then, is it? Or is that just me? Maybe something closer to a draft, right? It keeps, because of the fact we keep rewriting it or editing it. It's a draft, the one we've been revising for years. But yeah, I found that really, really interesting that every time we recall a memory, we're editing it, rewriting it. And because we dwell so much on the negative ones, I think we need to keep that in mind. And I wanted to do this episode as a follow-up to the other, because we're humans, and that's how we're wired, right? Our ancestors from over thousands of years ago didn't sit on the porch with a cup of cider in the winter and think, that's a beautiful sunset over the icicles. No, that didn't matter. What mattered was remembering where that attack from the predator occurred, because and so with that, because that was the case, our brain has created shortcuts, limbic system, quick to react. Everything is a threat. And for our ancestors, that was a good thing, because quickly they would die if that wasn't the case. But our brain has, because of that, has shortcut, rewired itself over time to where we see threat first. But we have our prefrontal cortex that is there to say, not quite what it is. Take a breath. But it's how we're wired. But we can control it, though. We can control it and live more in the present instead of doing so much recall. Recall is necessary, yes, to build our futures and to grow. But I said in the last episode, and I've said it before often, that the past is a place of reference and not a place of residence. We can go back there, and we should go back there, lest we forget it. But we don't have to stay there. We don't have to unpack our suitcases. Better yet, don't take any. Just hop on the metaphorical brain train and go back, and two-way ticket. No bags. All right? But yeah, we can go back and we can revisit for our growth, but we shouldn't stay there. We shouldn't dwell. And I thought I would share that with you because I did not know that. I did not know that every time we recall, we create a new fish story. All right? So that is all I wanted to share really quick with you. And until our next conversation, which is next week, you be good out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk again soon. I'll see you.